Welcome back. Negotiations between the Big Three automakers and the United Auto Workers Union continue today as the two sides try to hammer out a new contract before the current deal expires next month.
The union is pushing to get rid of tiers on wages and benefits and bring back the cost of living allowance benefit that was phased out years ago. If a deal is not reached by September 14th, the UAW says it is ready and willing to strike.
A strike would obviously halt production for the Big Three, would also have a domino effect for companies that make parts for those cars. Here with more insight onto this matter is Merrick Masters, professor of management at Wayne State School of Business. Thank you for being here tonight.
My pleasure to be here.
So Merrick, we are about 6 weeks out from that deadline. What do you expect to happen? Will we see a strike?
I think there's a distinct possibility there will be a strike. I'm hoping there won't be. There is a path to agreement, but the demands the UAW have made are steep, and they want to achieve a lot of them. I don't think they're just blowing smoke. I think they're serious about this. And for them, it's a new era of negotiations. It's a new era of relationships with the Detroit Three that discard really the traditions of the past. And so I think I go into these negotiations expecting the unexpected.
We've talked about the impact it could have on the Big Three, but what could it have on all the other companies that help make these cars what they are?
Well, 6 of the 10 top suppliers in North America are based in Michigan. A couple of numbers will help put this in perspective. In Michigan, there are 363,000 jobs, or about 7% of the workforce that depend on the auto industry, including the automakers and the parts suppliers. Nationally, there are about 10 million jobs that depend on the auto industry, and about $750 billion worth of wages that depend. In Michigan, you have about 10% of our GDP that depends upon the auto industry. It's a big source of our exports, it's a big source of our overall trade, and that would have ramifications for employment and workers far greater than the sheer numbers of those that might be involved in an initial strike.
So who is the onus on more to prevent having that massive ripple effect?
It's on both sides, and you can't really parse the blame, 60-40, 70-30. If there's a strike, both sides are going to have to share the blame, but there will be a lot of speculation about who deserves more of the blame, and we can get to that point should it come. But I wouldn't want to forecast that at this particular moment.
Sure.
When we talk about all these other companies that supply the parts and chip makers and things like that, how much pressure do you think these companies are putting on potentially both sides here to get a deal done and avoid a potential strike?
Well, I think they want to see an agreement so that business can continue. They've got a lot at stake. Suppliers have been hard hit by the pandemic and supply chain shortages, as well as the OEMs, so to speak, and they are struggling financially in certain respects, and they depend on a stable auto industry, and anything that would disrupt that would be very disruptive for them, perhaps even more disruptive than it is for the Big Three.
Tell us more about this new era for the union and the Big Three. Is it just the new leadership, or are there other factors?
Well, the membership is deriving the new leadership. You had the diverse direct elections, which is pretty earth-shattering for the UAW. They have defeated the administrative caucus, or at least for several of the key positions of the International Executive Board, including the President and Secretary-Treasurer, and 2 international vice presidents. For the first time in 70 years, there have been competitive elections at the top level in the UAW. And what you see is that after 70 years, they got rid of a good portion of the administrative caucus and replaced it with dissident leaders affiliated with the Unite All Workers for Democracy caucus, which has now 7 of the 14 positions in the executive board of the UAW. They have a new philosophy, a different philosophy, less cozy relationships with the employers. It's bespoken by the sense that they call us a family, but we're not really a family. We have different interests, and we're not going to submit to that. And I would add one more dimension to it. They claim that, and rightfully so, that the companies have made a lot of money in their profitability in North America, particularly over the last several years. They say record profits require record contracts. And their thesis is that they are entitled to more, and they made concessions for the companies to become profitable. They gave up the COLA. They introduced the two-tier wages. They gave up retiree health care. They gave up the defined benefit plan for the defined contribution plan. They want those things back. Their philosophy is they didn't give those things in perpetuity for the companies. They gave those to the companies so that they could become profitable again. And once they are profitable, labor, just as all the other claimants, is entitled to its fair share.
Well, Merrick Masters, Professor of Management at Wayne State School of Business, thank you for being here tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.